Welcome to Iron Math. In today's episode, we're going to start learning about algebra basics. This is our first question. So, we want to solve for x. We want to know what x is. But we need to get x by itself on one side first. So, how do we do that? Well, we have this extra plus 4 here that I don't want. So, I'm just going to subtract it, right? The opposite of addition is subtraction. So, I'm going to subtract 4 from this side. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So, since I subtracted 4 from this side, I'm going to subtract 4 from this side as well. So now I have x, and then 4 minus 4 is 0. So I'll just write that. X plus 0 equals 12 minus 4 is 8. And x plus 0 is just x. So x equals 8. So that's our first question. We can even check it if we want. We can put 8 back into here. So 8 plus 4. Does 8 plus 4 equal 12? Yes, it does. So we know we've gotten this question right. So this is our answer. And let's move on to our next question. Okay, so it's x minus 3 equals 10. Again, I want to just get x by itself, but I have this negative 3 here that I don't want. So I'm just going to add 3, right? Because the opposite of subtracting something is adding it. So I'm going to add 3 to this side, and I'm going to add 3 to this side. So I get x, and negative 3 plus 3 is just 0. And 10 plus 3 is 13. So I get x plus 0, which is x, equals 13. And once again, you can check it by putting it back into here. 13 minus 3 is 10. So I know I got this right. Okay, we have 3x equals 9. Okay, so there's nothing adding or subtracting here, but I do have this 3, this extra 3. But what's going on is actually 3x is the same thing. I'm just doing 3 times x equals 9. So I have this 3 that I'm multiplying. And I don't want to multiply. I just want to get rid of it. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So what do I get? So these cancel, right? 3 over 3 is just 1. So I get x, or 1x, but it's the same as x, equals 9 divided by 3 is 3. So I get 1x is the same thing as x equals 3. And that's my answer. And once again, you can check it back into this equation. 3 times 3 is 9. So I know I got this right. Oh, okay. So we have x divided by 2 equals 10. I'm sure you already know what we have to do. We have this extra divided by 2 that I don't want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 because the opposite of division is multiplication. So multiply this side by 2 and multiply this side by 2. So these cancel, right? So I get x equals, what is 10 times 2? 10 times 2 is 20. And that's my answer. X equals 20. And you can put it back in. 20 over 2 is 10. Now we can go to a little bit harder questions. Okay. So we have this extra 10 here that I don't want. Right? And there's no, this is a plus 10. Right? Because there's no negative sign in front of it. So this extra 10, I'm just going to subtract from both sides. Negative 10 minus 10. Okay, so 10 minus 10 is 0, so these cancel. So now I have negative x equals 5. What is 5 minus 10? 5 minus 10 is negative 5. Let me just erase this. We'll write that down later. So now I have negative x equals negative 5. Okay, I'm almost there, but I just have this negative. I don't want negative x. I want positive x. So what do I have to do? This is actually the same thing as negative 1 times x equals negative 5, right? Because anything times 1 is just itself, but it's a negative, so this is a negative 1. So now it's a little bit easier, right? We see that this negative 1 is multiplying by x. So all I have to do is divide out that negative 1. So divide both sides by negative 1. These cancel, and now I have x equals, what is negative 5 divided by negative 1? Well, the negatives cancel, and that just gives me 5. And once again, I can put that into my equation here, and I get 10 minus 5 is actually 5. This is our last question that we'll do together. I'll give you a couple problem questions to answer by yourself. So we have x divided by 2 plus 3 equals 11. Okay, this is a little bit easier to see, right? So we have this plus 3 that I don't want, right? So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and I'm left with x over 2. 3 minus 3 is 0, so these cancel. Equals, what's 11 minus 3? 11 minus 3 is just 8. Okay, so now I'm almost there, but I have this x divided by 2. So to get rid of this divided by 2, I'm going to multiply by 2, because that's the opposite. And remember, what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So these 2's cancel, and I get x equals 16. And we can even check if that's right. So we have x equals 16. So we can do 16 over 2 plus 3 equals, equals 11. 16 over 2 is just 8. So 8 plus 3, yep, it checks out. 8 plus 3 is 11. So we got that right. So our answer is x equals 16. So now let me take you over to some problem questions that you can do. Here are a couple problem questions you can work on, and I'll put the answers on the board in 3, 2, 1. If you want to figure out how I did these, there'll be another video on my channel going step by step through each of these questions. But if this video helped you, please consider giving it a like and subscribing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.